Hi everybody. So just to give a quick explanation of the notes for lesson 4.3, I'm just going to talk about the top section here. We've already covered the lesson of 4.2 where you have to show that the triangles are congruent by one of these 5 postulates: side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, or HL, hypotenuse leg. And so what we're now going to do is create this 2-column proof that goes through the steps of explaining why the triangles are congruent to each other through one of those 5 postulates. It's kind of like the old assignment you had to do in middle or elementary school, and the teacher might say something like, okay, explain the steps of how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And you have to go through every little detail of, I've got to go to the drawer and pull out a knife. I've got to close the drawer. I have to go to the pantry or the cabinet or wherever and get the bread. And I've got to open the bread and get the, every little detail, because you have to be able to prove with each of the steps. Anyway, the first thing you're going to do in proving the steps is always list your given statements first. And you can see in this example, they're going to give you certain pieces of information. Those are the very first items that you want to write. Then you want to ask yourself, is there anything that you can mark if there's an image, or that you can prove? Maybe I can mark that middle line congruent to itself by the reflexive property, or maybe there's a pair of angles that are congruent based on the vertical angles. Well, all vertical angles are congruent to each other. Maybe there's some parallel lines and you have to think about the properties of that, where, alternate interior angles are congruent. That goes back to lesson 4.1, I believe. And then this right here, this is the symbol for parallel lines, by the way. This is the symbol for perpendicular lines. Now, the properties of perpendicular lines, they create right angles, 90-degree angles. All right. So we're going to go through that process, and then finally you're going to end up proving the very last statement. They actually give you what you're trying to prove. That'll say, here's your given statements. This is what you're trying to prove. That's your proof statement. That's the very last thing that you want to write. And those triangles are congruent to each other based on one of these 5 postulates. That's what we're trying to piece together.